Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tactical Insight Show here on AFTV. I'm back with Graham. 2 wins out of 2.
Nice to see you again, mate.
Yeah, good to see you, mate.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine, mate. Yeah, great that we got the result on Saturday. First of all, before we start today, many thanks for all the positive feedback to the first show last week. Some great comments in there, much appreciated, the support and the feedback that we got. Yeah, and great that Arsenal continued this really good start to the campaign. With a result that I thought was more comprehensive than the scoreline, 4-2, which maintains the promising start and the feel-good factor around the club. I thought that on Saturday, James, initially a slightly slow start. I think we were struggling at the start to get the grips of Leicester's formation. They played like a 3-5-1-1. And they fashioned the first chance in the game from a turnover where Ramsdale came to our... saved us really when Fofana got through, but ultimately in the end I thought slowly but surely we got the dominance in the game for a longer period this time than we had in the Palace game, and in the end we're worthy winners. And in Gabriel Jesus we had the match winner, a perfect home debut, the first Arsenal player to score 2 goals on a home debut in the Premier League. I think his movement, his instinct, his quick thinking, the way he's combining with players is taking our attack certainly to a new level this season.
Listen, it's still early on, and we're going to hear that be said a lot really till about October. You know, across August and September, a lot of it is, well, it's early, you can't draw too many conclusions. But do you think fans, you know, like us and others, will be feeling slightly vindicated in saying, for what, 10, 15 years, get your business done early, get prepared, have a good pre-season, and we can have a good start. Now listen, you can't legislate for Aubameyang and Lacazette getting COVID last year and having City and Chelsea in your first two of your first 3 games of the season. Certain things can happen. But I see a team that is performing near enough a level I'm going to expect. Listen, I still think there's more to come, but at a level that is going to be good enough for most of the season, rather than watching a team that still looks undercooked but is maybe getting by.
Yeah, I think that the factors for that really was getting the business done early, identifying what we needed to improve the team, getting that business done early, having a really good pre-season, getting players integrated into the team. And I think also there's a lot of belief now in the players and what Mikel Arteta's doing, and also amongst the fan base. So everybody's on side, and it's creating this feel-good factor around the club. And we noticed it again on Saturday. I thought that when William Saliba, who I thought had a really good game,
he did,
6 interceptions, the most of any player in the game, when he made that mistake, there was no sort of groans from the fans or even from Ramsdale. We know how much Ramsdale hates conceding goals. He was there straight away, sort of picking him up. The fans immediately trying to sort of get on to give him that sort of like lift. And I think that is sort of coming from the terraces onto the pitch. And I think everything is pointing in the right direction for this season, for having a good season. And it started, I think from the planning, what we needed to improve the team. I thought last season, the thing that we lacked really was something round the box. You know, we were heavily reliant on our wide players scoring goals. But now in Gabriel Jesus, he's taken our attacking ability to a new level. And I think he's making other players in the team look better. And it's really reflected on the pitch.
I agree. Match stats. We will start here. 19 shots for Arsenal to Leicester 6. 7 shots on target for Arsenal, 2 to Leicester. 51% possession for Leicester, which was interesting. But I didn't feel like they had more of the ball, but maybe it just felt like when we did have it, we were quite comfortable with how we were using it.
I think that it's a sort of game where Arsenal dominated the game, right?
I mean, we did have more passes. That's interesting. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I think it's slightly. You got 51. I thought it was just over 50, and we were just over. The possession was fairly even, slightly favoured them. The reason why I think they had slightly more possession is that we were 2 goals up in the game, and then when you're 2 goals up in the game, I think you tend to sort of sit more, and they had the ball without really penetrating. And I thought that we struggled on Saturday, James, to come to grips with the way they were playing. And I think we're going to talk, maybe briefly touch on our press, the problems we had with the press. But once we got in control of the game, I thought we were quite happy for them to have the ball in the areas where they weren't going to hurt us. And ultimately, apart from some forays in the first half from Dewsbury Hall down their left-hand side, he was almost like a spare man in the midfield when they had an overload in midfield. I didn't think they got at our back line at all. They did try and hit some balls in behind our fullbacks, which I thought we dealt with. But overall, I thought we were quite comfortable. And in the end, they had a shot in the 5th minute. It's worth remembering this. They didn't have their next one on target to the 70th.
Right, well, there you go. Do you know what's interesting about this? Does it illustrate, maybe the first time ever since I've done Tactical Insight with you, that actually, obviously, possession, I imagine, is based off actual time on the ball. So if I've got the ball, right, and I'm just holding on to it for ages, I'm not completing any passes, but the possession is mine. But Arsenal still completed more passes than Leicester. So does it show, maybe illustrate a little bit the sharpness Arsenal had in their passing, how quick they were to get it and lay it off and keep moving? When they had the ball, they were able to ping it about longer, whereas Leicester maybe just didn't have quite as many ideas. I thought Leicester were actually quite good in the game, to be fair, but didn't have quite as many ideas in terms of what they wanted to do, and Arsenal's fluidity maybe is slightly shown in that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it is fair. I think our press in the first half was our main forward player, Jesus, and Xhaka and Martinelli would press onto their 3 centre-backs. And then we had White...
Should we show it on the tactical pad, actually, while you're saying that? So go on, keep going.
Yeah, so basically, we were pressing with our 3 front players would press onto... They played a back 3. They played 3 centre-halves, Fofana on the right, who I have to say, whose valuation dropped by 40 million on Saturday after Martinelli's performance against him. But basically, you had Martinelli pressing onto him, you had Jesus pressing onto Evans, and you had Xhaka pressing onto their right side, their left-sided centre back. And then what Arteta will then ask is for the White and Zinchenko to press onto their wing backs.
Yeah.
And then I think Odegaard was really tasked with pressing on to Ndidi. Xhaka was taking care of Tielemans. And then you had Partey. Now this is where we had a slight problem in the first half, because I thought that they had, when Maddison dropped in, they had an extra midfielder. So either had a 4v3 or a 3v2. So Partey, I think, often wasn't pressing. So and because he didn't want if he did that, Gabriel would have to press on to the player he wasn't pressing, which would leave Saliba one-on-one with Vardy. They were weary of Vardy's pace. So I thought that was the way we pressed. But you talked about possession. Once we got the 2-goal lead, I thought we sat off more, allowed their centre-backs to have the ball in areas where they couldn't really hurt us. And that's why I think their possession stats went up slightly. But for all that, they didn't really create anything until he changed the shape in the second half, Rodgers. He went almost like a diamond in the last half hour when he played 2 forwards, Maddison in behind 2 forwards. That's when they had a bit more joy and they fashioned the chance which Maddison took. But overall, that's the reason for the possession stats.
Let's talk about Arsenal in possession now. If you put Leicester into more defensive shapes, obviously their wing backs are sort of having to cover, and then you've got a midfield 3 with maybe Maddison and Vardy pressing as a 2.
Well, I thought that Maddison more or less played off Vardy. So I think it was like a 5-3-1-1. So you had Tielemans on their right, Xhaka, that was an interesting battle. We're going to talk about that today. Then you had Odegaard.
Because I felt Odegaard was still drifting right a lot.
He was drifting right, but his job really was to sort of him and Ndidi were sort of that was the matchup, I think, in that area. And I thought that they had Maddison could drop in or play off Vardy. So when he dropped into that area, if you look at it, they got a 3v2. Yeah. Partey and Xhaka against it, because Odegaard is with Ndidi. They got a 3v2 there. So the only way we could really counter that, I thought, first half, if the wide players would tuck in. Yeah. But ultimately, that was when the game started. I thought they asked us questions in that shape, and I think that's why we took 10-15 minutes, I think, to get to grips with how they were playing, because they were playing. We do struggle against back 3 teams, James. Yeah, we have in the past, and I thought that ultimately it took us a while to work it out. Xhaka made the only mistake he made in the game, and that led to the turnover. And Ramsdale, I know we're going to question some things about his performance today, but in the big moments in these games this season, he's made the big saves. And he did it again on Saturday when he saved when Fofana got in early. But once that happened, then we started to unlock them down our left-hand side, and that, I think that's where we had a lot of joy. That's what I've just been highlighting as you've been chatting. I really wanted to talk about this left-hand side of the pitch. I thought it was much more functional than the right-hand side. Yeah, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It is a good thing, because we've been very right-dependent. We're not relying on Saka anymore, are we? Jesus, I think, was sensing that and drifting to that side a lot more. I actually haven't even seen his heat map, to be fair, and we know we love to look at those. I felt a key player in all this was this man, Zinchenko, because it allowed Granit Xhaka to get forward, and we know we're going to talk about him. There's a lot to be said on that.
But I just felt Zinchenko was pulling the strings in that position. Everything was just so classy, and there was this, and it's something we've actually projected and looked ahead to. There was this interchangeability where if Zinchenko got forward, Xhaka was happy to then drop deep and cover at left back, and Martinelli could come inside. We see Jesus pull wide for the goal, and Marte makes central run. We're going to analyse that in a sec. The four of them, it's like they just knew, oh right, he's there, so I've got to be here, you've got to cover. The movement, it seemed so fluid and interchangeable and seamless. I thought those four were the four best players on the pitch.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I think we've come a long way from the days of Kieran Tierney funneling out up high and just slinging crosses into the box.
Yeah.
We've now got a really strong left-hand side. You are right, Zinchenko is absolutely instrumental to that, James, in that what he does is he can play in central mid, or not central midfield. He can get into midfield, hold his position. He's also good at carrying the ball up the pitch. He had most progressive carries in the game.
Yeah.
So he was getting up. I disagree slightly, and I thought he was holding his position in midfield.
Okay.
And Granit Xhaka was the one who was busting the gut to get into the box, which what we're going to talk about today is the way that Granit Xhaka unsettled them by running off Tielemans to create the goal and also get the assist. I thought Xhaka was the most advanced I've ever seen him in an Arsenal game.
Yeah.
Almost like a third man running midfield, almost like an Aaron Ramsey performance, the way he was getting up high to support the attack. And I thought that in our 5 lanes, when you think about it, we play like a 2-3-5 in build-up. So you have White and Saliba as a back 2. Then you have, like, when we're building up, you have that 3. White tucks into the right side of midfield. Zinchenko tucks into the left alongside Partey. You've got your 5 lanes. You've got Saka, Odegaard, Jesus, Martinelli and Xhaka. That's your 5 lanes up high. And I thought Xhaka was incredibly advanced, and we see it instrumental very early on. He got on the end of a Saka cross and headed one back across the box very early on, showed his intent, and then he was instrumental, I think, in our opening goal.
Here's his heat map. You personally requested this.
Yeah.
So we're going from left to right. Yeah. This is thanks to SofaScore, by the way. So we're seeing him obviously taking up this left-sided role a lot more, and it might be difficult to see, but there's a little bit of fade sort of in the penalty area, and we see him in this area here where I thought he combined really well. It reminded me of the Nasri Arshavin days, the kind of, you know, when we used to just be so intricate on the edge of the area, and Xhaka was a big part of that with Martinelli as well. What do you think it is that is making Arteta look at him and go, yeah, box to box now, you can be our Gundogan, let's say?
Some people will say they don't want him back in defence making mistakes.
That might be a part of it,
might be
he's got something to offer, but you don't want to leave him too deep.
Possibly. I think it's just the way Arteta wants to play now. He wants to play with this sort of like fluid system. It is a 4-3-3. People say it's a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. It's a 2-3-5 in build-up. It's very difficult now to nail an Arsenal formation down because it's so fluid. Now, Martinelli at times is almost in a 2 with Jesus up high. Martinelli, who's been an absolute revelation this season, James, and his interchanging with Xhaka, I thought up high was crucial. And I think this to me was almost like the Tielemans audition. He was, and I love the way the fans chanted to him, "See you next week." Yeah, but on that performance, he wouldn't be getting in the side ahead of Xhaka. I know we've always said we want an upgrade of Xhaka in that area, but almost like he's taken that personally and now wants to prove a few people wrong. He has been totally rehabilitated into this Arsenal team. And he is now responsible, I think, for you know, a lot of the things that Arteta wants to happen up high. And he's you know, I thought that was a really superb performance by him on Saturday. He was in the right space a lot of the times up high to impact the situation in the penalty box. It was his touch from the Martinelli pass that set Jesus up for the goal. He got forward when Ward dropped the ball for our 3rd goal. Where he was in the right place at the right time. And I thought generally he unsettled him with his runs. Now, Tielemans was meant to be marking him in that game. He was running off Tielemans all game.
Yeah, he was. Now, I want to bring up this graphic here, looking at Granit Xhaka's average positions. We've got the Palace game, the Leicester game, and his sort of overall in the 21-22 season. I've spotted an error in it, so you're going to have to forgive me. This is versus Palace, this is versus Leicester, this is in the 21-22 season. So, anyway, but the point remains. Against Palace, we see that, you know, again, he's getting forward a little bit, but there was a lot of defending to do in that game, so he's sort of still dropping into those deeper central areas. Against Leicester, I really did get all 3 the complete wrong way around. This is what happens when you leave your graphics to last minute. My bad. Against Leicester, yes, having a lot of fun getting forward there. We saw that, and you've illustrated that properly. But what I wanted to talk about was, this isn't... I heard a lot of fans, right, and I kind of get it. A lot of people were saying, we're seeing Xhaka in this new advanced role. It's not that new. He's been doing it since, from what I remember, the first time I noticed Xhaka, like, oh, he's getting forward, was West Ham in December last year. That was at home. And then the Norwich game when we won 5-0. Yeah, it was 5-0, wasn't it? And he was getting forward in that game. He wasn't playing as a box-to-box, but he was getting more as an advanced state. He was getting forward. And across the season, we saw that actually he was getting into those areas a lot. That Arteta was asking him to get far more advanced and almost do what Odegaard does on the right, but do it on the left. He's just not quite as inventive. And I think off the ball as well, Odegaard...
I can just cut you in there, John. I think the difference is that this season... Zinchenko is making a massive difference.
Exactly.
Because what he can do, he can play there.
Yeah.
So I know Xhaka and him can interchange, but it's enabling, because he's so good at getting into those areas and so good at occupying that space. He's very good in that space. I think Xhaka is able to get forward more than what he did last season, maybe when Tavares or Tierney was playing left back. That's the major difference. Now, what's also happening is that Martinelli and him are just... I mean, Xhaka's even going out wide at times.
Yeah, I know.
And you never saw that last season. No. So I think there is a definite improvement or change in the way he's playing. I think he's more in the box this year than ever. Yes, he was he was left-sided number 8, James, and he was up high.
Yeah.
But he's more in the box now.
Yeah,
and
Graham,
he's impacting on the play.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's the point. It's not that he's suddenly getting forward. He was always quite high up the pitch for a lot of last season. The difference is the penalty area. The difference is, you know, how he's attacking the ball and making off the ball runs. Now, you know, there's the Partey pass that he tries to get on the end of, there's hitting the post, you mentioned all that. I then want to go to this graphic, which, okay, he's got his goal this season. He's matched last year's tally for, you know, 1 goal each in each season. He got 2 assists last year, so he's already got the 1 for Jesus' goal, which we're going to break down in a sec. But already, I know it's very, very early on, and we've played 2 games that you'd expect Arsenal to win and have a lot of the ball in. But touches in the penalty area per game is up to 3 from 1.7. Touches in the attacking third per game, 23 to 19.34 last season. And passes into the penalty area per game, 2.5 to last season's 1.7. So where I agree that the role has changed is, rather than being just an advanced state getting forward, trying to occupy pockets of space, it's actually the runs off the ball, trying to stretch the pitch when Jesus drops back, and being what Ilkay Gundogan is to Man City, runs to the back post, stretching the play, you know, because it's so difficult for Fana to go, well, is that my man? Because I swear it's meant to be Tielemans, but it's so difficult to mark, and Xhaka looks really good in it, I've got to say.
He does, and I think, as I said to you, early on in the game, there was a cross from Saka where Odegaard worked an opening where he took a player away, Saka got the cross in.
Yeah.
You would not expect to see Granit Xhaka at the back stick on the end of a cross, heading across goal, which he did. And he was up high, I think, for most of that first half, influencing the play, having an impact. I think he was helped by the fact, as I said, that I didn't think Tielemans was tracking his runs.
Yeah.
And he was able to run off him a couple of times. But he's now almost, like you say, a box-to-box midfielder. Yeah. He's in the penalty box.
He's really evolved into it.
And he's part of our 5 lanes of attack now.
He is. He absolutely
and
is.
He's still got that ability, I think, to drop back if they wanted Zinchenko to go high. And he can play back in a 2. I think what Arteta likes about him, and I read over the weekend, they see him now as the leader. He's integrated back into the leader group. I think you've got, Odegaard's the captain, but I think Jesus and Xhaka are now the leaders, what they call the 3 leaders of the team. I think he understands what Arteta wants him to do.
Yeah.
When we're offensively wanting to push in the game, or defensively when we need to maybe maintain a bit of a control. Obviously, there's still that gap in behind him, but I think that's more or less Zinchenko's role and Gabriel's role now to come across. So if they're looking to hit in behind, that's Arteta, I think, is asking Gabriel to come out and assist Zinchenko, or he's asking Saliba to come out and assist with White. So Xhaka's role back defending in those areas, or even if you think back to last season where he was filling in at left back, that is clearly now a thing of the past.
Yeah, I completely agree. How have we gone this long without talking about the main man himself, Gabriel Jesus?
Absolutely amazing.
2 goals, 2 assists. We've got his numbers here. I mean, the 2 goals, 2 assists. We've left that to last because everyone knows, you know, about those numbers. But you sent him some great stats here as well.
And I think he's first in most of all of these.
Yes, you did.
Most
you did make
most
that
shots
point.
on target, most touches in the box.
Tied with Martinelli, I think, for shot creating actions.
Yeah, he had more shots in the game than Leicester City. He had more touches in the box than Leicester City.
I mean, that is
and
impressive.
I think this was the perfect home debut. You know, he was. I think what I like about him is that he's so hard to man mark.
Yeah.
He can come short, he can go wide, he's comfortable on either side. He plays off instinct almost. And I see some of the AFTV interviews over the weekend when they were comparing him to Alexis Sanchez and South Americans. That is probably fair play. Well, he is a South American anyway.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that generally he's taken our attacking levels now already to a new gear. The instinct, the movement, the way he stretches defences. He's very hard. I love that ball. He should have had a hat-trick on the weekend. He scored two great goals. You know you're going to break down the goal in a minute. A perfect chip to get us on our way with the first goal. He reacts at the back post, admittedly from a Vardy flick over, inadvertently flicks it over his defenders, but he's there on the end of it.
Yeah.
And then he would have had almost like the perfect hat-trick when he spun Evans on the edge of the box and he got in, and indeed he got back and made that tackle which saved the day. And then we had a brilliant movement. It was everything Arsenal were about in this game, this intricate one-touch passing when Odegaard and Martinelli combined, and then Martinelli plays him in and he gets in behind the defender, gets his shot away and the keeper makes a save. Second half he hit the outside, I think the stanchion or the post. He had another half chance, but he was really superb. The perfect home debut, as I said. The numbers are outstanding.
I love this one, percentage of touches in the box.
And the thing is, I said earlier, 31% of touches in the box. That is an amazing stat. The thing I like about him is it's almost like he's given the rest of the team confidence. He's making other players in the team look good. This was the perfect number 9 performance.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree. Let's take it to the tactical pad, as you mentioned, because we've got to talk about Jesus' goal. Here it is, right. I apologise in advance for a slightly clunky edit here, but the point remains. What I really want to highlight in this is where everyone is, because Jesus has pulled out wide. They've
got a lot of players in the box, haven't they?
Yeah. They've done well, and actually Leicester have done well to get a lot of players back in the box, which is why you need players who can do something in tight spaces.
Inventive.
Exactly, exactly that. Now this reminds me a lot of the goal we scored against, was it Benfica we played at the Emirates in pre-season? You know when Jesus pulled out wide and he slipped it into Xhaka, who made the underlapping run, and then he follows his run into the box. Very, very, very similar movement. Again, Jesus has picked up the ball out wide, and it's a lovely bit of skill, the way he sort of just dinks it past Evans and he's running at them. But immediately Martinelli's occupied that central space because he knows that someone's got to occupy it, and he's made that darting sort of underlapping run, and Xhaka is getting forward as well. That three kind of understood what to do, and it was something we've seen in pre-season. It's not an accident. This isn't just they're feeling good and they're kind of making things happen. It's by design. They understand what they have to do in these roles. So Jesus rolls it into Martinelli and he follows his pass. At this point, complete havoc, because Martinelli's taken a good touch. And by the way, his close control, Martinelli's unbelievable. Looks after it and he's trying to spin. He reminds me of Alexis Sanchez, may I say. At this point, Evans has tracked Jesus into the box. Fofana's trying to follow Martinelli. And Xhaka's just run off Tielemans and picked up a nice little spot, because Tielemans is drawn to Martinelli in a sec. So off he goes. Xhaka's picked up a nice little spot, and that is where, listen, I still want Tielemans at the Emirates because I want quality and I want depth, but it wasn't a good performance for him. Xhaka ran completely off him. He gets dragged to Martinelli because he's thinking, well, I should probably close him down, and that's where that little pocket of space there just opens up for Jesus to basically open his body up and put it into the top corner. And then again, as I said, slightly clunky edit, but the point is,
it's a fantastic goal.
It's a great goal.
An absolutely instinctive, brilliant finish. And Xhaka's role in that shouldn't be underestimated, because he's the one who lays it off. He's the one getting into the box there. And as you see, we've got our five lanes up there that I talked about. Obviously, Saka's
all in the box. You're
all
right.
in the box now. But Leicester have got plenty back to defend it, so we did well to get a goal out of that. But I think the key for me was the way Xhaka was, and he was doing this a lot in the game, running off Tielemans. I think that this was almost like Xhaka saying, you're not going to have my place in this team, Tielemans. You're not going to come and take my space. And I think that a lot of talk about Tielemans, Arsenal are interested in Tielemans, but I didn't see anything from Tielemans in that game that made me think, do you know what? I'd prefer to have him in the team more than Xhaka. And to be honest, I wanted Tielemans. We did that tactical insight transfer in the summer, and I thought I wanted Tielemans on that, an upgrade on Xhaka. Xhaka is making me think again at the moment whether I think we need to really upgrade him at the moment. I think there are 1 or 2 other areas in the team that I would like to see upgraded at the moment, but if we are going to do any more business before the window ends. But ultimately, central midfield, for example. But ultimately, I thought that was a brilliant goal, and Xhaka's role in it shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, completely agree. We talked about how good Martinelli was. I want to touch on another player just very, very, very quickly. On the Forever Arsenal podcast, I made a public apology to Aaron Ramsdale.
How's it doing, people?
Well, yes, yes. How's that impression of Turkish? Everyone thinks I'm always laughing at it. What you don't know is that lead judges are in the background making jokes all the way up to the point we were recording. That's why I'm always laughing at the beginning of these shows. But anyway,
love Turkish.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But what I wanted to mention was, I said on full time that Ramsdale was at fault and actually looked one of the worst players on the pitch for Arsenal.
Bit harsh.
It was harsh. It absolutely was harsh. Now, I was at the game, so I saw it live, so I didn't get the benefit of highlights and all that. Sometimes you do, but not often, and you don't get a great angle of it at the Emirates. So I was harsh because the 3 things were, well, firstly, as I mentioned on Forever Arsenal, great save from Fofana at the very beginning to keep us, level early.
A crucial part in the game, James.
Yeah, because it was very early and that could have set the tone for a difficult afternoon. So that was brilliant. I also thought the Vardy thing, he gets nowhere near him, the penalty incident. He gets nowhere near him. So actually,
he pulls out.
Well, at first I thought it was a bit rash from Ramsdale, but actually he's got nowhere near him. And you know what? He's got to do something to unsettle him, so whatever. The Saliba one is just a complete freak. It's a complete freak moment because he can't do nothing. And Saliba's got to also try and react. But if Saliba doesn't get to it, then Ramsdale's got to be there to close the angle to Vardy. So it's just a freak moment, and I was harsh to say he was rash coming out there. The only thing is being beaten to his near post by Maddison. That wasn't great. And I think at that point he was probably a little bit unsettled with nearly giving away a penalty, but also gets away with it, and then obviously the own goal. And, there was at a time in the game where Arsenal really should have been quite comfortable. And listen, I'm not saying it's great defending either. They've worked it well, Leicester. But that's the only bit he'll be disappointed about. So I wanted to just kind of get that out there.
Almost like Maddison getting his own back for last season, wasn't it? Yeah. But one thing I will say is that he drove that in with force, James.
He did.
He hit that quite hard, but no goalkeeper should be beaten his near post. 100% agree with that. But the thing I loved about this Arsenal performance was every time we conceded, we went back down the other end and scored.
Exactly.
The moment they pulled it back to 2-1, albeit a mistake on Ward, we got it back to 3-1. The moment they pulled it back to 3-2, you talked about Martinelli. His running, his work rate, in this game were absolutely unbelievable, and he was the one with that left foot shot that put us back out of sight again at 4-2. So I love that. The team, when in adversity, responded, and that was great to see.
Absolutely did. Right, the roundup stats. What have we got?
Well, just bear with me while I get my glasses.
Trick is to just wear them all.
Not quite at that level yet. I also have now won their last 4 Premier League meetings with Leicester by 2 goals. Gabriel Jesus' stats became the first Arsenal player to score more than once on his home Premier League debut. He also had 15 touches inside the opposition area, the most since Alexander Lacazette v Brighton in May 2019. He also had 7 shots in the game, 1 more than the whole Leicester team. Jesus has also scored as many non-penalty box goals now in 1 game as Lacazette managed in the whole of last season. Martin Odegaard covered 12.25 kilometres, the most by any player in the game, and that man Granit Xhaka was second on 11.5 kilometres. Odegaard also made the most progressive passes in the game, 7. Gabriel Martinelli now has 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 3 Premier League games. Zinchenko, I get his name right, people picked me up on that last week. Zinchenko had 11 progressive carries in the game, first amongst all players, as you said. Brilliant performance up on that left-hand side. And despite his own goal, William Saliba made 6 interceptions, leading all players in the game on that stat. And finally, Arsenal have now scored 6 league goals in 2 Premier League games this season. It took them 8 games to do that last season. And my closing thought really, James, is last season we were heavily reliant on Saka on that right-hand side, but Saturday showed how good our left-hand side now is. 2 years ago we were heavily reliant on Tierney swinging in crosses. Now we have combinations and intricate one-touch movement to unlock defences on that left-hand side.
Yeah, thoroughly agree with all that. Some great stats to round off. Graham, a big thank you for today. Well done, Arsenal. If you enjoyed this video, do smash the like button. Let us know in the comments as well what you enjoyed, what your takeaways were from this game. And Arsenal started, and they've got some really good momentum that they started in pre-season and have carried into this season. It's Bournemouth on the weekend. Got to discuss with Graham now. We might have a slightly earlier tactical insight for you. But either way, we will absolutely be covering it. And hopefully Arsenal can build on this momentum. Look at the run of fixtures we've got. Never easy, but ones where Arsenal maybe can build some momentum. Let's hope that they carry on after a very good win against Leicester. Well done, guys. We'll leave it there. See you next time.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.